Hi there. These comments are for AA. This is Michael from BetterTOEFLScores.com. And you sent me a speaking practice test. You want me to grade it for free. And I do have a TOEFL speaking evaluation service. I will grade one practice test for free. I will do one of them. You cannot keep sending me practice tests, but I will give you one free evaluation. If you like the feedback I'm providing, I have a very inexpensive course. You can learn more about it if you go over to bettertoeflscores.com, right? You can learn about it by clicking on the TOEFL speaking and writing feedback service, and that will tell you a little bit about it. So you will get feedback on both writing and speaking every time you send me a practice test. I will give you feedback on that. Okay, so the question here is, what do you like better? Studying alone or studying with a group? And I'm going to score your practice test according to the actual IBT rubrics that you see here. You can see I got these directly from ets.org. Okay, here we go.
What is better when preparing for an exam, studying alone or studying with a group? I believe that studying alone is much better than studying with a group for several reasons. First of all,
Notice you're almost 15 seconds into this response and you don't have any details at all, right? That's a very bad strategy. And then your thesis is for several reasons. Maybe you can give one reason at this point plus one specific example to illustrate that. That's all you're going to have time to do right now. So you need to get this introduction down between 5 and 10 seconds at the most. At the most. You might say studying in a group is better because I can score higher and I can get answers to the questions from the course materials or something. That's it. And then you move on. First of all, I like studying in a group because I can score higher on my tests. Then give an example to support that. Say, second of all, I also like studying with a group because I can get answers to the questions of the course material. And then give an example to illustrate
I like
that.
to study in a quiet environment because it helps me concentrate. When you're studying alone, you can focus on equations.
Now, wait a minute. And now you went to when you're studying alone? No, once you say you like to study in a quiet place, at that point it's time to give an example. Say, for example, last semester I was preparing for a biology test, and instead of studying with other people, I chose to study in the library in a small room so I would not be distracted from anybody. And while I was in that room, I studied without any distraction at all for over 1.5 hours, and I was able to get a really good understanding of the two important concepts of what's called cell division, meiosis and mitosis, because I was studying alone.
With a group for several reasons. First of all, I like to study in a quiet environment because it helps me concentrate. When you're studying alone, you can focus on equations and problems more closely. However, when you're in a group, everyone
Yeah, see, once you go to the you point of view, it removes yourself from the speaking response and you begin kind of talking to your audience, but it does the opposite of what you're trying to do. It's not elaborating on what you're trying to say. You're simply telling your audience, if you do this, if you do that. So I don't think that's the right point of view here. I would encourage you to use either the first person or the third person point of view when you're explaining your
is always
examples.
asking questions. For example, I once tried to study for my math exam in one of my groups. I could not focus on a single thing and I ended up failing that exam. Therefore, I think that studying alone is much better than studying in a group.
Good. I like the last example. You talk about the math exam and how you scored poorly on it because you studied in a group, right? Maybe that's all you do in this response. You might say something like, to avoid distraction, I prefer to study alone. Then say, to illustrate, Then talk about how you were preparing for a test in math and how you did study in a group and how you score poorly. Then say, however, and then give an example maybe of another class, another test where you prepared alone individually. Individually, you studied for the test and you did much better. And then that's it. So because you can score higher, because you can concentrate better, you perform higher on your test by when you're studying alone. You might say something like that. All right, so there we go. Let's take a look at the actual rubrics here. I think I'm comfortable putting you in the 3 area. I'm going to say 3.0 out of 4. I'm going to say 23 points out of 30. So you could probably do a little bit better with your delivery when it comes to your intonation. Hold on a sec. Excuse me. So I think you probably do a little bit better with maybe varying your intonation a little bit more. I think that might help. You had pretty effective use of grammar and vocabulary. However, you seem to be a little bit limited in the range of structures used. You're using a lot of basic vocabulary, basic grammar in there. And I think your development, you could elaborate and provide more specificity in the examples that you're choosing and make sure that you move away from that second person point of view. I think by using the second person point of view, your response becomes a little bit imprecise, and it also lacks elaboration when you're using the second person point of view. All right, thank you. Now, if you have more questions about any of my services that I offer, you can come by during my virtual Zoom office hours. You will see them in the email below my name. I do have office hours. You can come in, you can talk, you can tell me a little bit more about your situation, and I can recommend a specific study plan that I think will help you to improve. And the pricing is all up front. I will tell you how much this will cost, how much that will cost. You have a pretty good idea of what your investment might be to help you get the score you need. And I'm going to tell you, it's a lot cheaper than what you think. All right, thank you for completing this practice test.